Off the bench with Jacob Hester and Nick Underhill. We are going, I think T-Bob is off. I think he just had a kid, so he is not on this episode. But we are going to be talking about the Bucs Saints, reacting to their reaction to this. Obviously, one of the worst meltdowns in the Saints history against the Buccaneers on Monday Night Football, allowing Tom Brady to come back down 13 with 5 minutes left. Take it away, boys.
And go to our guy, Nick Underhill, NewOrleans.football on Twitter, at Nick_Underhill. Yeah, Nick, man, I thought we were going to have just a great juice to this interview this morning. I thought the Saints were going to find a way to win. I'm looking at the win probability here that you had on your Twitter last night. I mean, that thing is just skating on that 100% line for the New Orleans Saints, and they blew it. We all know it. We've talked about it.
Embarrassing.
Very, very deflating loss for the New Orleans Saints.
The way they lost last night would have almost been unbelievable if it wasn't just completely believable from the way they kind of played the whole season. Yeah, I like the Cincinnati game was basically the same thing. You got two chances to steal the game on offense. You can't do anything. You got two chances to steal the game on offense here. You can't do anything. They just keep finding new ways to lose, and
it's really the same way, right? Like, it's really the same way of losing because it's just total ineptitude from the coaching staff. That's it. How have they lost all? I mean, I can barely even talk. Nick is, I mean, this gaze that he's giving me, this intense, I feel like I'm in a stare down competition. I feel like I'm in an interrogation. I feel like, I mean, I feel like I'm under a hot lamp and I'm being asked where I was on January 6th. What's going on here? It's total ineptitude. That's why we've lost all year long. Whether it's roster decisions, whether it's play calls, whether it's game management, which this one, it was all three. Somehow in this game, if you had the bingo card of Dennis Allen and Pete Carmichael, a.k.a., Bebop and Rocksteady, these two dinguses, if you had their bingo card, they would have checked off every single box of coaching malpractice on Monday Night Football.
I don't even know how to explain it. I don't know how you don't come out of this game with a win. I mean, just some of the decisions they made down the stretch. Obviously earlier in the game they had opportunities to add more points. Jarvis dropping that pass before halftime turned 7 points into 3. Olave dropping a third down pass. They would have at the very least gotten a field goal there. But
those are explainable. That's the variable of football, right? Drop passes, overthrown balls, fumbles, whatever. I can live with that. That's why we watch the game, right? But the basic first grade, second grade, third grade level of game management, that is, you can control that. You can control that variable. And Dennis Allen and Pete Carmichael did not control that variable.
But, they're still in position to win that game down the stretch. And I think they honestly had some coaching stuff that just didn't work. Like, it didn't go their way. And some of the decisions are just, it's a little bit hard to understand. Like the second down play where Dalton takes that sack. I mean, you look at
that play was terrible, right? So that play, he's talking about on the last possession before we punted it back to the Bucs, who then went on to score with 3 seconds left. Dalton goes, I think they run it, timeout, second down, they drop back, Dalton takes a sack, timeout, third down. Or no, they must not have taken the first timeout, and then the incomplete pass, right? I believe that's how it went. So the second down play is the sack, which, yeah, it's like, why are you dropping back there? What was the play call? Why? What's going on?
It's just the personnel on the field. You got one wide receiver out there, and that one wide receiver is Kirk Merritt. He got called up from the practice squad before this game. Like, why? Yeah. I don't know. Like, if you're going to take a play where there's a coverage sack, like, I at least want to make sure that Chris Olave is maybe the guy that.
Yeah, that happens a lot. Like, that happens a lot with this team, is that it'll be a third down play where we need to make something happen down the field, and we'll have like the spell practice running back in instead of Kamara. Or like he's saying here, obviously it's passing down. Obviously you want to move the ball downfield. So why are you sending the personnel out there without any of your best players? This happens way too much where the wrong personnel is on the field in the wrong situational spots. I honestly don't believe that they are putting very much stock into like the situational side of these plays. I think they're just rolling with the play sheet. I think they're just like, yeah, this play looks good, sounds good, let's run with it. But I don't think there's any like, well, here's the situation, here's kind of a deeper look into why they're calling plays or why they're doing it. I think they're just doing it. I think the Bucs do the same thing. I think Byron Leftwich just does it. I think in his mind, he sometimes thinks we're going to go run pass for the first 15 plays and doesn't budge off of it. I think he just says we're going to run on first down the entire first half and we're not going to budge off of it. There's no situational awareness. There's no game flow. There's no rhyme or reason. I've said before on here, one of the best ways you can determine a good coach is when they can get a lot out of their best players. A good indicator of that is whenever you can put your good players in positions they need to be in, right? Like the certain distances or the certain situations or the certain matchups, moving players around and making sure that they're where they need to be to succeed or whatever. The Saints do not do that. Like they do not do that. They don't do things. You'll see like the Cardinals, for example. The Cardinals will be like, okay, it's 3rd and 7. This ball is more than likely going to DeAndre Hopkins. They're going to find a way to get him open, get him where he needs to be, because he is the man, right? Kamara, we should be finding so many ways to get Kamara involved. Matchups, moving him around. If running is not working, if he's not running well up the middle, do something else. Olave, he's the best receiver we have. Okay, if we need 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7, 3rd and 5, whatever, how can we get him involved? How can we get him freed up? We've got to get him the ball. Instead, they leave him on the sidelines.
That's covered. You can't get the ball out. Like they're trying to go to Taysom there, but at least have somebody that can get open on that play and not a guy that you have no idea if he can even catch a pass in an NFL game. That was real weird to me. There's just a handful of things, man, and it just kind of feels like they're trying to be successful, and they're like, no, this isn't what we're about. We got to find a way to lose, and it's just happening way too often.
Yeah, I mean, sadly, that's the facts. And you mentioned it, and we've talked about it. I mean, 5-6 plays in that game that lost you that game, and bad teams find a way to lose games. The Mark Ingram, though, that one's hard for me to swallow. Just being a former running back, and Mark Ingram, I said it, like better running back than I ever thought about being.
So this is talking about the 3rd and 1 or the 2nd and 8 play, or 2nd and 9, whatever it was, where Ingram catches the ball in the flats and he goes out of bounds a yard before the marker, right? Could have reset the downs, could have got a first down, could have all kind of stuff. That is real bad. Ingram, it was hurt. That ended up being what it was. But to devil's advocate again, it's like, why is he in? Why is he in there? Why is he the one catching the pass? Why is he the one in there? If he's not feeling good, if he's been hurt, if something's wrong, if he's not, why is Kamara not in there catching the pass? I know I keep harping on Kamara, but his usage has just been such a glaring sign that his coaching staff just cannot figure it out. His lack of touches and the way he's used in certain games and certain situations just like this. And Ingram came out and apologized and said, I screwed up. Shouldn't have happened. No doubt about it. It shouldn't have happened. But the next play was the 3rd and 1 where we should have picked up the first down. And then the 4th down, if we didn't pick it up on 3rd down, we should have tried to pick it up on 4th down. We shouldn't have punted. So that play was terrible, but there was so many mistakes afterwards that how can you even pick one?
He's done it for so long. That was shocking to see him go out of bounds there for a couple of reasons. And there might have been an injury there, but still, I just can't find a way to make that okay. You have Tom Brady on the other sideline. He literally is about to set the record for most fourth quarter comebacks in a game in this game. So who's on the other sideline, the greatest of all time. So you want to churn some clock, get a new set of downs to continue to bleed the clock. And also you can see the sticks, Nick. They're literally right there in front of you. Devin White was giving you the first down. He was going to try to tackle you after you picked up the first down. It was right. All you had to do was fall forward. You fall in bounds. You don't even have to keep running if you were hurt. And I think you win the game. That to me was the play of the game that lost you the game. And there's others. I understand that, but
yeah, I mean that is for sure a huge negative to this was that play. Absolutely no doubt about it. Like that play was indefensible, unbelievable, whatever you want to say. but it was compounded by what happened next. It was compounded by the next play, and then the next play. Like, as bad as that was, it could have been fixed. And then as bad as third down was, it could have been fixed on fourth down. And even if it isn't fixed, even if it doesn't work out, at least attempt to fix it, right? At least attempt to fix the previous play. They just compounded mistake after mistake after mistake.
But with a veteran player, as many carries, as many times as he's been on the field in an NFL game, that to me was the most shocking play of the night.
Absolutely brutal. I mean, it's the details all season long, little details, and things aren't on point. I mean, that's one of them. Not going for that. I mean, even if he just had the ball, and you can't be carrying the ball in the left hand and have it exposed to the defensive player, but like, that's how close he was. I think if he had the ball in his other hand and went out at the same exact spot, it would have been a first down because the ball would have broke it. The one thing I would say there is that 8:29 of the fourth quarter, he gets hurt. They know he's hurt. He's had a knee injury. He's missed the last 3 games. He hurts the knee with 8:29. A few minutes later, he's back in there playing. And
this is what I was talking about. Like, it's bad that it happened, but why is he in there? I mean, you can't defend him for juking himself out of bounds a yard before the marker. But you also can't defend the fact that he was hurt. He was already hurt. And why is he in? Who is doing the personnel?
I don't know. Maybe he shouldn't have been in the game. Maybe he should have known that there was an injury. Probably that's on Mark at some extent too. Hey, are you good to go back in? Yeah, I'm good. You put him back in the game. I mean, it's no excuse there. He's got to get that. I just don't like pointing at the players here because I kind of feel like it takes the blame off of the coaching to some degree. And if it goes on Mark, then it kind of feels like some of this other stuff they were doing. Like the play right after that. I mean,
I agree. I mean, we're just saying the same thing. Nick knows what's going on. He watches the games. He understands. But yeah, I agree. Like, the player variables will happen, and that's totally understandable. Same with, like, I mean, any interception, any fumble, any bad play. That is what football is all about. But you cannot defend when coaches are just straight up whiffing. And these guys have whiffed all year long. Like, they just, I'm pretty sure we've talked about this here, where it's like, why are y'all arguing about Jameis or Andy? Like Andy Dalton or Jameis Winston. I don't care if Drew Brees is back there. We aren't winning with Pete Carmichael and Dennis Allen. They are the problem. Bottom line. Lock it up 100%. That's the answer. That is my final answer. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Those two are the problem with this franchise right now. I mean, I can say it because I can't prove it, but if I'm on the sidelines, me, who's never coached an NFL game in his entire life, if I'm on the sidelines for the last 2 Saints possessions, we win the game. That's a fact. Like, that's a fact. That sounds crazy, and it sounds crazy for me to say it, but if I'm there and I'm calling the plays, we win. Because I'm sure as hell burning at least 3 seconds off the clock. I'm sure as hell going for it on fourth down if I decide to pass it on third down. Alvin Kamara is for sure in the game on the second down reception. Like, all those things do not happen. And then, do the Bucs still have 3 seconds to win? Probably not. And again, I'll say it because I can't prove it. So what? But, I mean, that's crazy that they're getting paid millions of dollars. They're the head coach. They're the offensive coordinator. And someone off the street would be a +1 in the win column.
I think that's kind of on Dalton. You watch the play. It's 3rd and 1. Season's on the line. Their 2 options, though, are Adam Prentice in the flat. And that play worked. If you watch the play, he's actually going to be open. And, there's the argument of, do you criticize things, whether it's executed or not? I tend to like to look at things as the decision's made, and whether it works or doesn't is kind of secondary to that. I think if your plan there on 3rd down is go to the flat to Adam Prentice, or you hit a backside slant to Marquez Callaway, who's been inactive 2 of the last 3 games, has played 11 snaps in the game to that point. His last catch was against the Rams. Season's on the line. Those are your 2 options. Like, they couldn't run the ball with Taysom there. You can't, get one of your good receivers on the field. Their plan this whole game was, we're going to put our burners out there because Tampa's got injuries in the secondary and they can't run with our 2 wide receivers who got 4.
Yeah, but why is Olave not out there?
and maybe go back to that well that's worked throughout the game. I don't know. I mean, it just kind of feels like in some of these situations that they're making some decisions. But you're 100% right. I mean, Ingram's been in the league for far too long that he needs to know and have the experience and the wisdom to not allow that play to not end in a first down. They get it there, like you said, they win the game, and all this other stuff isn't happening. Sky isn't falling. We're talking about can the Bucs lose to San Fran and Cincinnati the next 2 weeks?
What's kind of crazy too about that? Like, that's another thing that's kind of blowing my mind today is that people are like, okay, now, it's like now maybe now we should be thinking about not having Dennis Allen next year. Maybe now, after all that, maybe Pete Carmichael's not the answer. I don't understand what people have been watching for the rest of the season. Like, they have been this bad. They have been this bad the entire season. If you go back and watch the games, I guarantee you will find a handful of spots just like this where you're just absolutely scratching your head, absolutely wondering what the hell just happened. Now, it's not on Monday Night Football. It's not against the Bucs. It's not against Tom Brady. It's not all that stuff. So people are forgetting about it. I'm telling you, because I've watched every game and I've gone to every home game, and I've said this every week on this YouTube channel. They have made these exact mistakes. And by they, I mean Pete Carmichael and Dennis Allen, Bebop and Rocksteady, Dingus 1 and Dingus 2, Goofus and Gallant, however you want to say it. These two have made these decisions all year long, and they will do it again next year if given the opportunity. That this is just who they are. They do not fundamentally understand it. And like if they said, we do understand it. We're NFL coaches. We've been coaching for combined well over 20 years. We do understand it. We understand it more than you. Then I would say, lost my voice there. Then I would say, well, then why the hell can't you do it? I don't think you do know it. If I asked a mathematician, a math teacher of 20 years, what 7 times 3 was, and 13 weeks in a row, they told me it was 19, and then I said, no, it's 21. You're a math teacher. Shouldn't you know that? And they said, I am a math teacher, and I do know that. I know it better than you. I wouldn't believe them because they haven't showed me once. For 13 straight weeks, they've shown me the opposite. I don't believe, sitting right here, I do not believe Dennis Allen and Pete Carmichael have the capabilities or the understanding of the situational spots in these games. Game theory, game management, you pick the definition. I do not fundamentally think that they have the understanding to be successful as coaches in the NFL. And as long as they are the coaches of the New Orleans Saints will not be successful.
The Saints back in this, but that shouldn't be the story of the Saints season, though. Like, in a way, like, things got brought to a head here, and like I kind of think that some of the stuff is good to come to a head. It makes you face some of the things that are going on and maybe look for answers and solutions. And I think that's kind of what this team needs right now.
Yes, I said that all day today. I said silver lining. The silver lining playbook. Shouts to Bradley Cooper. Shouts to Jennifer Lawrence. Shouts to Robert De Niro. I think he's in that movie. I hope so, since I gave him the shout. The silver lining playbooks to this is that Dennis Allen and Pete Carmichael cannot come back from this. It was on too much of a grand stage. It was too much of an F- on their term paper. It was too much of a whiff. It was too much of a whoopsie poopsie. There's no possible way now, after watching that, can anybody, especially Mickey Loomis, say, maybe we should give them a second chance. So that I will lose this battle if it means winning the war. I will be fine with losing this game the way we did it if it means getting rid of them.
Yeah, and you're right about the coaching decisions. There's not a rhyme or a reason for some of the things.
I appreciate you saying
that. It feels like they're doing right now, and that's certainly going to be a conversation as we continue to finish out this season and in the off season. I mean, I know we ask you this every week, but like, what do you think? Like, is there a situation, Nick, where if they watch this team who now is basically out of the playoffs,
they're out,
quit? And I don't think that, because this locker room, I think has too many veteran players that care too much. I don't see that happening.
I don't think they quit. I think they actually did play hard. I mean, they didn't quit. Like, they're not Cam Jordan didn't quit. He's not quitting. You know, this team, I didn't see anything on the field that would make me think like the players aren't playing. They're not giving an effort. I never thought that once. I will say that the players, Demario Davis and Cam, like the players are playing well. I think Andy Dalton played well. I mean, Kamara wasn't great. Adebo, gave us a big penalty, but beyond that, I mean, I thought the players played pretty good. Olave is good. He's dynamic. He had his first drop of the year. Who cares? He's a rookie. Like I said, Dalton, I think, made a lot of great throws. They had a lot of drops. The defense has been good for weeks. Davis and Jordan getting the strip. Davis with the interception. Like, the players aren't quitting.
But I'm asking that question if they do see that, if they see signs of it just being mailed in for the last couple of weeks of the season, would that drive them enough to make some tough choices in the offseason?
I guess I'm doing a little stuttering here. I guess he's talking about canning Dennis and co. I don't think he means get rid of players. So we'll see how this goes, because they absolutely will and should move on from Dennis and Pete.
I think it's interesting because up to this point, you can sell hope. You can sell the playoffs. You can sell, keep fighting. Everything's ahead of us. We can reach our goals, all this stuff. Like, that's gone now. I mean, they haven't been mathematically eliminated, but practically you can't walk in that locker room and incredibly say, hey, like, let's keep going. We can figure this thing out. You can't figure it out. The players know that. Everybody knows it. So I think now it's just down to that pure desire. Do we want to keep showing up for these people, or do we believe in these coaches? Is this the path forward?
Maybe I'm naive, but it's hard for me to believe that football players will just tank, because it means, like, if you're an offensive lineman and you're quote unquote tanking or not putting in effort, you're just getting your ass kicked. Like, you're just getting your ass kicked for 3 hours. So like, I understand in basketball where you're just kind of jogging up and down, you're kind of taking some short, some cutting some corners. But in football, I always feel like it's hard for players who are on the field in that moment to not play. I can understand, like, I'm not going to be at practice. I can understand shortcuts in practice and training and game film and stuff like that. But actually on the field effort, I feel like that'll be fine. I don't think anyone's going to be given 140%, and I don't blame them. It is different when you're on a team that's playoff bound or a team that's Super Bowl contenders versus a team that's eliminated. That's understandable, but a lot of these players have been there. A lot of the leaders have been there. These are all professionals, so I'm not concerned about that.
Yeah.
Am I happy being part of this? Do I want to be part of this? Like, I think there's a lot of things that people gotta ask themselves, and I think we're going to see the real stuff now. Like, kind of really, if there is a buy-in and everything like that, and if there isn't, I think that's when those conversations start. Like, if you see the team start showing up with horrible effort, I thought the whole season they've played hard. The Pittsburgh game aside, I think the Pittsburgh game, it was kind of like a weird downturn. Carolina week 3 was another weird game, but they weren't in this situation yet, so I pushed that one aside. But they've come out playing really hard the last few weeks. They
played hard
really
against Tampa.
Despite, the result this one, obviously they were playing hard. So if it turns, though, I think that's the kind of thing that has to happen to get someone fired. As a one-year coach, like, things have to go incredibly sideways. They aren't going to have the Urban Meyer level circus. So the next thing is do the players believe in the coach, and do they quit on him? And if
they do not. There's no way they do.
40, 50 guys that just aren't showing up for a coach, I think that's when you start having those conversations, and that's.
The culture's gone. I mean, look, the culture's gone. The team is terrible. They've been terrible all year, like, as far as how they operate, the scheme, the game plan, all that stuff. It ain't working. And there's nothing that would make me think that is going to work. There's nothing. There's not a shred of hope that Allen and Carmichael can make it work. So I don't think you fire him right now. Who cares? But when that last second of the game clock goes off in the last game of this season, they better be gone. I mean, if they trot those two out there next year, oh my God. I mean, I just can't fathom. I cannot fathom a front office mistake like that.
That's where things can happen. Outside of him, like, I wouldn't be surprised if there's other staff changes if he survives. I think they got to look at everything.
Yeah.
Offensive coordinator, that's usually, if the head coach survives and it's a bad season, there's scapegoats. I mean, I think that becomes one. They wanted Liam Cohen during the offseason. I think that was really the real reason for some of the holdup of, is Pete Carmichael in or not? I think they were looking at other candidates, and he's the guy that I've kind of heard, the former Kentucky offensive coordinator. So, I mean, I think there's definitely going to be some stuff that changes this offseason. The idea of running it back, continuity, keeping it going. Don't change anything for the sake of change. We're close. If we get healthy, we make
Please no.
All that stuff's gone. So, I mean, now they got to go back to the drawing board and say, all right, like, what's the actual approach to take us into the future? And, I wouldn't be surprised if some familiar people aren't part of that.
And obviously, Nick, and catching up with Nick Underhill, NewOrleans.football here on OTB. Obviously, a lot of people are upset because you don't have the draft choice, although Chris Olave has been one of the best rookies.
I was also having this conversation about the draft choice. I'm not super upset about us not having the pick. Obviously, you want the pick. I'm not saying that I would rather not have it than have it. But the fact that I think we could still get a Hayden Hooker or a Grayson McCall in the second round and then a Zach Charbonnet in the third round or flip them or whatever, that I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that versus doing all the stuff if you told me I could have Will Levis or Chris Olave, I'd take Olave. And we're not going to be able to trade up to the first pick, second pick. If we had 5, if we had our 5th pick, we're either taking a defensive player, we're taking, if Will Anderson slides or something, or we're moving down to take Levis. And because the top guys are going to be gone. The big boys are not going to be there. So I'm totally fine with how this is all played out, where if you told me that we're leaving the draft with Hayden Hooker or Grayson McCall and Zach Charbonnet, I would say, man, that was an A+ draft. I am pumped. I'm excited. We have some hope. And then we'll see what happens. I'd be cool with that. So not having the first round pick obviously sucks, but it's not as bad, I think, as if it was like a year where we had a chance at Caleb Williams, or we had a chance at Joe Burrow, or we had a chance at Justin Herbert, or something like that. To me, it's not that bad. I could be wrong, but
in the NFL, you don't have the draft choice, so when you have a bad year, you don't even get to say, well, at least we have a top 10 pick from it. So we all know that, and we all know that there's going to be chatter around Sean Payton, and if you are able to get a first round pick back from Sean Payton, is that probably the question that you get asked the most about?
I think people are talking about the Payton pick a lot, but I really think there's an opportunity to bring Sean Payton back.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, look, I think that's the most important thing going on with this team right now, and they got to figure something out there. That's the only way to hope for this offseason. Otherwise, I don't really know what they can even do at quarterback. I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo's hurt. Maybe now he's possibly available. Maybe you end up like Hendon Hooker in the second round or something.
I mean, am I the best or am I the best? Am I the best or am I the best? I'm just spouting this stuff off, after a day at work, after putting 8 hours in, come home, turn on the bright lights, turn on the camera, I'm just spouting off. Just boom, boom. Hendon Hooker here, Zach Charbonnet there, second round this. I mean, sometimes I really shock myself.
Like that with his injury, like you gotta find some situation that's a little bit damaged and bring it back, and then they got their own thing to figure out here too. And
the quarterback doesn't matter, running back doesn't matter, wide receivers don't matter. None of that matters until you give me who our head coach is going to be and who our offensive coordinator is going to be. What's our culture? What's our vision? What's our philosophy? What do they want to do? You cannot talk about the draft. You cannot talk about free agency. You cannot do any of that until you have the answers of who's the quarterback, or who's the head coach, who's the offensive coordinator. The buck stops at Dennis Allen. It stops at Pete Carmichael. If those two are there, go get Mitch Trubisky. Go. Who cares? Run Jameis back out there, because nothing's going to change. If they aren't there, and we have an offensive-minded guy, boom. Now we can start talking about what quarterbacks are in the second round, what running backs are available, what are we going to do? Let's rock and roll, baby. We got a future. But none of that can happen. None of the hope can happen until Dennis Allen and Pete Carmichael are gone, and we find the new identity, whether that's Sean Payton, whether that's an unknown coach, whether that's someone from the college ranks, I don't know. But we need that first.
We kind of talked about this too, the prism of like Jameis is under contract. You got to get a look at him. You got to put him back in. With Andy Dalton's the guy they actually are looking at out of those two and say he's the guy we want to bring back. And if you take him out, now you piss him off and maybe create a situation. So if they're already done with Jameis, I don't know if we see him again. I mean,
who cares?
I would put him in there. I would find
who gives a shit?
Some upside. I'm not blaming Dalton for.
Dalton's been good.
I thought he actually played pretty good outside of a couple decisions. I thought he played pretty good against San Fran too. I don't think
he did.
He's the person you start the list of problems with, but I don't know that you look at him next year as a solution. I don't know that you look at Jameis that way either. But
hell no.
I would find out given that where the season's at. He's actually under contract, but
this is insane that there's actual conversations of like, yeah, maybe we can run it back with Allen and either Dalton or Winston. What is everyone watching? We got a clean house.
The quarterback market's definitely something that they need to find their way into this offseason, and getting that Sean pick would be the way to it. I do believe that they'll get good compensation for him if he finds a situation he likes. The problem is he controls that a little bit, so he's not going to bring in 4 different teams where they can compete and bid for it. It's going to be maybe 2, and I think Sean's probably going to have some discussions with those people before he even.
He is.
Those teams, as far as all right, you got to trade to acquire me. Like, this is the line in the sand. Don't go beyond it. I mean, he's not going to go.
Yeah, Sean's not going to go to a team. Sean's not going to want to go to a team who just gutted their next 3 years of first-round picks. Like, that's obvious. Like if Sean Payton can control it, he's not going to be like, man, I want to go to the Chargers, and I really want to go into a situation where I don't have a first-round pick for 4 years.
Don't want to go somewhere that's too depleted, but I do think that a first-round pick's possible in the right situation.
Yeah, and we've heard the teams, and obviously I'm paying attention to this, being a Chargers guy, and the Chargers have been thrown out there, and I'll make the phone call happen. Like, do I need to get these two sides together to make it happen? Because I can see, look, Sean Payton and Justin Herbert together, I can be okay with that, and I can be okay with the Saints getting a draft choice. It's like a win-win for me, Nick. I mean, do we set the meeting point? Do I need to make sure both people there involved are at the meeting? I'll do whatever I got to do here.
I mean, the state might need it. There's not too much hope right now. Like, if you could just do that so we have something to talk about for the next 6 months, I would be forever indebted.
Hey, one player that I did want to highlight here, I have in my notes, Alonte Taylor. I know a lot of people thought that the Saints maybe reached for him.
He's been good. I think he's been good. And it's always hard, too, whenever you have to step up. Lattimore has been hurt, so the second cornerback's covering the first receiver now. The third cornerback's covering the second receiver. I think Taylor's been fine. I've been pretty happy with how Alonte Taylor's been playing.
The draft, and I remember putting a tweet out there because he blew me away at SEC Media Day a couple of years ago, and I thought he was a really good player on the field, off the field. I thought there was a lot to like there. He looks like he is someone that is ready to be a guy right now. No development. I mean, he's going to continue to develop, but he's ready to play at a high level right now.
Yeah, he is. He is playing at a high level.
The only thing that I think has been wrong with him is his tackling, and I talked to him about it this week, actually, and he said he approaches it a little bit too hit or miss, and he just needed to figure out how to bring a little bit of balance to that approach and sometimes be willing to take.
All right, we're well over 30 minutes here. Again, off the bench, ESPN 104.5, I believe. Thank you, for watching the video. Let me know in the comments below what you think. Should the Saints what should be going on here? I mean, what do you think? Should it just be cut and dry? See you later, Dennis Allen. See you later, Pete Carmichael. More importantly, who would you be looking at coach-wise? Who would you be looking at quarterback-wise? What should we be doing moving forward? I kind of gave you my answer, as far as McCall or Hooker. I would love Garoppolo, but without the right coach and all that stuff, it really doesn't matter. So let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching the video and letting me rant a little bit. I'll see you in the next one.